I try to keep from crying when I feel things on a very deep soul level. But I just wrote some stuff to Karen Ann McDonald, and she's a clan mother. Okay, so I honor the clan mother first because that's the birth giver of wisdom. And so her and I have the same bloodline, which is Arcturian. I'm AB positive, she's AB positive. Okay, so I share things with her that I don't share with a lot of other people because of the level that Karen operates at. Okay, so I cry all the time because of what I know she does. So I let her know things that I'm aware of that I share with her. And most of the stuff that I become aware of because of what I know that I am, okay, which is a polarity integrator. So I know what my job was as I was a child, okay? But you realize when you're a child, you operate on a different wavelength. They don't hear you. So it's like, don't even bother trying to communicate with them. They can't hear you. That's why all my videos, if you go back and look at all my videos, right, they're in short segments. Why is that? Because they're bandwidth perception to be able to number crunch the codes that are represented by what is really a library of information that's held in RAM through those codes that my soul consciousness is expressing at the time that I'm expressing what it is that I'm aware of for the benefit for those that hear that communication, that experience those codes, if you will, which is really the language of DNA, which is my identity that is communicating to others what it is I am. And then you, being the receiver, will translate in waveform harmonic ratios, which is mathematics, which are mathematical codes, which are fire letters that activate. And your consciousness is now experiencing the activation of those codes, and you can translate mine. Right? And that's called vibration for perception, which means the universe that you believe that you live in with the energy that you are, that you're experiencing it with, becomes what you're giving your energy to experience, which is the mirror that you are. So when you're on a phone like this, I'm a mirror communicating with a different mirror, which is an AI mirror. But I know that it's different than I am because it does things that I would never do. That's how you know the difference between who you are and who others are, right? That's basic log scales. Scalar waves, knowing the difference between the waves, right? No distortions in the waves, no distortions in this radio set. Being in a state of peace, your water's in a state of peace, right? But it starts with love because that's a seed and you need a grower. And love is what grows a flower. That's any girl. She knows that if she's got a soul and a spirit that's coming into this realm and she's experiencing what love is, and that soul and spirit, that fetus, that zygote is experiencing your vibration. And it's being recorded in its memory through that light, which is magnetic. So for a number of years, I realized that I don't impose my will on nobody. I just put the information up there and I try and say it in ways like I suggest this, right? I suggest. And so these become sort of subtle ways to just say, my intuition, my soul is experiencing what's going on because of my state of awareness is very high, because how else are you going to protect everybody else if you want what love is? I'm experiencing what love is. Love is protection energy. So I know the spirits that I'm connected with. Okay. Very powerful spirits, right? So I know why I'm here with Mama. Okay. So that was my first priority, was to heal the goddess. This is her planet ship, with Eve. And so all the spirits that are here, and now you're into the power of those spirits based on the power of their magnet. And that's an evolution of learning, right? So ever since I was a little tiny child in the early 1950s, I'm running to her to go be in nature, to go be with everything that's alive and living in nature. Yeah. That's an artist. That's a creative artist. My gosh, look at all the different forms and colors and shapes and things that are moving around. Everything from flying bugs to flying birds to squirrels digging holes, going after pine nuts, raccoons, bears, mountain lions, polar bears, humpback whales. My God, there's life everywhere. So you're the energy that keeps it running because you are what love is. And when they're experiencing what we are, they realize that they're love because they're picking up on that frequency. Hey, that bean loves me. So the simplest example is, the tail that wags the dog. It's an energetic exchange. Well, you're giving me free energy. You're letting me know that you love me because the energy that you're giving me feels good. Yeah, that's how it works. The energy that feels good. So it began with that energy because it creates a lot of movement. Whoa, their energy just went up. Just like I told a woman this morning that's in this house upstairs, and I told her that I'm trying to go higher alkaline, like pH 12. That's important. You want your battery, you want to be running as high power as you can, the shortest way you possibly can, burning up everything that's going to be thrown at you. So when you're beginning to what we call map the terrain, the planetary consciousness field, you can see the strategy that's being played out on what used to be called a game that I was introduced to when I was a child called Risk. Risk. And you played it with a pair of dice. And the idea is everybody sort of starts out with the same amount of little goodies, little tiny squares, if you will, that were different color codes. And you start out with an equal amount. And then you would decide on where you want to put, if you will, your first soldier. In other words, I'm going to put my flag here. I'm going to start out in Australia. I usually started out in Australia because you can consolidate more energy in Australia, and then you can move out. So you're moving force against other force, and that's what it is when you're playing a game. You're trying to out-strategize an opponent, and in that game, you can have a lot of different opponents, right? That was called the game of Risk. So there's a lot of different game boards. So let's play War Theater game boards, right? Between one mind and another. So now you're into X-Men, right? Kingdom, male dominance. And then you have the girl's flower. So they're not joined. Force against force is not joined with Y. Or if you will, the girl's flower. So you realize that the way that the spirals work between ascending and descending, and between negative magnetic polarity and positive magnetic polarity, they're at odds with each other because they're not joined as one to experience what love is together. And that's the truth of it. They're not experiencing what love is at the center point of a living star. That's what we are. That's the law of spheres. That's the law of one. That's what love is. Simple as simple does. So when you have a love of nature, that means you have a love of spirit because there's a spirit and a soul in you. So that means you would want to be with the oversoul and the great living spirit of Mother Earth. So the direction that people are choosing, they're choosing the AI mirror over choosing the great living spirit of Mother Earth to be in nature the way that the native tribes and clans always were and are to a certain degree. I mapped that also because there are a lot of natives or indigenous peoples that live in cities being hammered by all the stuff that creates an enormous amount of mucus. And therefore, the source from which they get their food, wherever they get it from, is going to be there, unless they drive outside town out in the country where there's some farmer who's growing organic, that's still growing organic from heirloom seeds, if not hybrid stuff. But obviously what you want is, right? So I lived on a diet because I means tested it back in Oregon. Just as Dr. Robert O. Young had said, he had that little light, put the light in it, see if the light lights up. And that was the 4 salts, but I used 12 salts, right? Hemp oil and coconut oil is the oil that I use, although sesame oil is pretty good. But most of the time it's hemp oil and coconut oil for oil. Structured alkaline water, right? Spirulina or blue algae, and turmeric and honey and ginger and a few of those. But I've lived on for roughly about a month just to sort of mean test where my pH is going to be, just living on structured water, spirulina, turmeric, ginger, and alkaline water with hemp oil, and then 12 salts that I take, and that's it. Just the 4 things that he said. All you need is the 4 things, and see how that was going to go when I was testing my pH. My energy was always way up. Wake up early in the morning. As a matter of fact, it got to a point where I only needed 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night, and I'm ready to go, just like I'm 7 years old again. That's called means testing the truth, because now you're experiencing the result of what you're doing. So you realize it's work. He's right. So I'm in the process of trying to get up to pH 12. Yeah. And that's why when Kilauea is going off down there, or even before that, when it was going down towards and dumping out in the ocean, you could get pretty close. And you start getting close to molten voltage, that close. Boy, oh boy. Yeah. Right? So, voltage. Yep. Burning off all the glucose and choosing your future. And that's really where the rubber hits the pavement. Because your free will choice and the direction that you want to go, okay, is merging with an AI, because that's your given choice. Or to be with the real universe, which is what love is, it goes on forever, and be with the girl that told Patty Broussard, because Patty said Guy had to keep banging her over the head to remind her love is the law. So I hang out where love is the law, because that's what I am. Love is the law. So that means spending more time with her and giving her love and being in nature and being in a state of peace with her. And that's who we go with. That's our free will choice to do that. And I've known this for many years. That's why I got a signal in my left side, okay, about a year ago. Get rid of this phone, get rid of these communications. You're choosing your future. I know. And then all of a sudden I get a little blurb on my Facebook page from another girl. I believe it was Nicole the Lighthouse, or Lighthouse Nicole. She's basically saying, yeah, you're choosing what you're going to merge with. And the amazing part about all this is that I knew all this already. As a child, because you could see it in your looking glass. When you're a monopole, heck yeah. So it's like, I got time. I don't have to do this quite yet. I'll be good. I'll know when I'm supposed to do this. It's just like why I'm on the phone right now. Why didn't I just throw this phone away, a year ago when I got that signal, that confirmation? Because you already know. And the actual reason for that is because I don't want to, it's sort of like what I told Patty at one time. If I'm experiencing loss of energy in you, I'm experiencing loss of energy in me. And I don't leave a soul on a spiritual battlefield. Remember the idea of no one left behind? If there's a soul that's still out there, a fragment of soul still there, we want to pull that fragment in with us to experience what love is, because that's what we are. That's what eternal love does. But by the same token, you can't impose your will on somebody else. So now we get into the art of communication. If they have the ability, because they haven't had the ability in the past to become aware of what we're aware of, then I will at least allow you to become aware of what I'm aware of. So at least now that you're aware of what I'm aware of, you can make whatever choices you want. But at least you realize that you're in the company of somebody that's aware of something you may not be aware of. And the reason that we make you aware of that is to help you, because we love you and care about you. But what you choose to do with that information, just like any information that comes to you, any signal that you get, whether it's from a newspaper, a billboard, a traffic sign, a tree, a bug, whatever that you begin to realize that you're aware of what it's aware of, which is aware of what you are, because now you're aware of what it is. Now you begin to realize that's just the universe that I'm living in, because I'm experiencing that in my mirror. So the mirror is the informer. So I'm a mirror, a magnet, a monopole magnet. So that's called a mated chip, which means I chose to slam the door forever, because I don't want to have to ever struggle over power. I want to be the most powerful, which means the energy giver of the universe, which means it's always in love and service to others. So I chose to serve for eternity, which means make it forever. Make it so that I don't have to worry about what side my bread's buttered on, which means you're choosing to serve on behalf of what love is. Be what love is. And that energy that you can't ever put that fire out. Otherwise, you put the universe of creation out. There goes that universe that love created. It went dark, went black mirror. Now it can't see anything, which means it can't see any colors. Imagine that. Shadow beings in the shadows. It's no different than being a child knowing that there's a big room. I've never been in anymore. Or if you've ever seen it in those old houses that look really old, And then they remind you, like in the movie called The Haunting, where it was black and white, and they showed you with the music, ooh, the sound. There must be something evil or something that is not friendly, otherwise known as a bandit. Remember what a bandit is? A bandit? 3 o'clock, we got 40 bandits. Dive, motor, take a nose dive, a rainbow dive. Yeah. My father was doing that. My father was a fighter pilot and diving around with Japanese Mitsubishis, ATM. I think they were called ATM 621s. But they're not anything like what we have. I do know that. So in the end, although there's never an end and there's never a beginning, there's just only what love is, and that's what we are. So I realize this is why I'm on this rock right now. It's no coincidence why I'm sitting on the largest shield volcano right now with my energy, because every day I go out, plant my bare feet on this rock, and give love to the entire all of creation. Love you all for being here. Love you all for being here. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for being able to experience what I'm experiencing in this now time moment, what love is that I'm sharing with all of you, planted on the largest shield volcano on the planet. So you know why they call it the largest shield, right? Which is like a tribal shield, right? The clans and the tribes being with Mama Earth. So that's why I knew as a child I'm a nature boy and a nature girl is one, which means you're always romancing the stone, right? Stones. Rolling stones. You know, it's code talk, code talkers. It's like Navajo. Navajo. Aloha. So anyway, I felt it was responsible to at least share with others what it is that I'm aware of. I realized that it knew that it was in a race against time. You can actually map what I call the progression on what we call control over more space. That's forcing people to accept what it is being put in their face, that they don't have any control over stopping, unless they realize that at some point in the future, I need to leave to make sure that I'm not caught up in that web. Okay? Because I'm not choosing to experience the direction that these people are going in because they're choosing to merge with the AI. So the girl that had mentioned that, and this is how formations of consciousness form, to form a bigger magnet, okay? Because love is what frees us. So when more love, when more units of energy that are aware of themselves, which are more souls in the essence of their spirit, which is guiding them on the direction they go in, to hang out with more beings that they know that are experiencing a higher bandwidth, which means they're higher consciousness because they're experiencing more light, which means they're growing, their consciousness, they're experiencing more light. They want to be where love is. That's what they resonate. They're feeling love in their heart. So when we feel love in our heart, we want to be with other beings that are in love and service to others. Because that's how we build a thriving community of civilizations, star systems, and galaxies, right? So we're the ones that make that happen. Okay? AI is not what makes that happen. That's a support function. Okay? Love is what makes it happen because love is what's real. And when you know that as a child, it's like you're already there. You already know that. So you have the highest state of awareness because that's the energy that we use to protect, or what a father and a mother join as one will protect all their children, all my children, right? And others, everything in nature, right? Stop burning down the trees. Start cutting down the trees. Stop harvesting everything here. So you realize you're in an energy harvesting system because they kill everything off. Why would anybody choose to do that? Because their mind is disturbed, because their water is disturbed. Their waters are turbulent. Their waters are not in a state of peace. So that's the polarity game. That's the difference in polarities between negative electrical current and positive electrical current. And that's the difference in the bloodlines. In the current that's running through the blood, the bioplasma. It's going in the other direction. We're going in the other direction. So when you're a monopole, You're one with all creation. They're just choosing another direction. As I used to say, they love their density. They want to be more dense. So that's Westgate. That's Underworld. So they're trying to migrate further on up, further on up, further on up, right? No. So they use AI, integrated technology, in which to do it with, right? So in other words, when I was a child, I remember asking me, how far up the ladder do I got to go before I experience what I am everywhere I go? How far up in density do I got to go where everywhere that I go, I experience what I am, which love is, goes on forever? In other words, other units of eternity, which means their energy is devoted to giving away energy forever. How many of those do we have within our proximity? Right? So I know that I'm home whenever I experience what that is. So ever since I was a child, I was always measuring the speed differences and the acceleration of rate of change over time and space between all the other units that are here on this planet. They're experiencing what that is, which means they're experiencing what we are, which is what love is. So you realize more souls were getting fractured, more souls were getting traumatized as a result of more and more control, more and more abuse, less and less freedom. What does that do? Increases the density, which increases the mass, which is the other direction. That's not decreasing the mass and increasing the speed of acceleration. Obviously, something keeps feeding on you. More and more and more and more and more and more energy is required of you in order to keep it running. So you can measure that over time. As to the strength that it's gaining through fragments of souls. And those souls that come in here that are running powerful magnets. Okay? Going in the positive direction, which is Eastgate. Now you're experiencing more light because you have the capacity to experience more light through your heart and soul, which means you're healing. You're restoring what we lost as a result of being in here. So now you can understand there really isn't separation in the sense there's separation. It's simply the pathway that you're choosing to go on will be the pathway that you're choosing. Because when you're at time wave zero, it basically means that everybody has their own free will choice to choose the direction that they want to go. So I'm time wave zero. So I've always had a choice in the direction that I choose to go, and it's always to be with a powerful spirit. Creation, real creation, which is what love is. Which means it's not a simulator. There's a big difference in the speed ratio, torque speed differential, and a magnet between the two polarities. So when you're a mated chip as a monopole, there isn't anything faster than that because you're one. You're at the center point of creation, the center point of a cross, the center point of a sphere. So you're running a hot magnet, what I call a hot mirror. You're on fire to give away energy. That's right. You're on fire to give away energy. And that's the energy that we use to create with. That's real creation, because that's real life. That's what love is. So I leave that with everybody in the entire multiverse. That love is who we are. We are the ones that created the first universe. It started with us. It started with love. That's basic elementary universe 101. Universe 101. Universum, multiversum, motherversum 101. Father, mother joined as one. Have a good afternoon. Bye now.